My name is Howard Tremuth. I am in the midst of the biggest transformation of my life. I avoided marriage until I had established myself and my career. Lilith, my first and only wife, was born a month after me. Earlier this year, we both celebrated our 50th anniversary. We had nothing to protect when we got married, so there are no prenuptial agreements. Lilith and I have lived in this house for 21 years. We moved here a year after we got married and then brought our firstborn son here 2 months after we got settled. Our second child joined us 2 years later. The kids are now in college. Recently, I convinced Lilith that we should move to a gated community for 50 or more couples. Once we had a firm commitment to sell our house, we went into contract and put several $1,000 serious dollars toward the upkeep of the new home. Now you can see why most of our stuff is packed in boxes. However, I have no intention of moving into the new house. In fact, none of us are moving. I just got off the phone with the realtor who withdrew our offer. Losing a couple thousand was a small price to pay. However, our time in the old house is over. We really need to move. As we attended the closing of the contract 3 days ago, Monday, we have a week until tomorrow to hand over the keys. Lilith thinks I left yesterday morning on a business trip. I haven't worked since I quit my job a week ago. I bought a one-way ticket to Atlanta. From Atlanta, I have a car and will drive to the Bay Area and then get on a ship. I should be at my retreat on the island in a couple days. I don't plan on divorcing Lilith. I do plan to take all the proceeds from the sale of our house, my 401k payout and most of our savings. With my newly acquired identity, I hope to live my life sailing the Caribbean. Opening offshore accounts has cost more than I would like to admit. Thanks to electronic banking and the corresponding amount of money laundering, all that money is now in the cryptocurrency accounts of my new identity. Since there are over 10,000 cryptocurrencies, I sure as hell hope the one I've chosen survives. I plan to convert this imaginary money back into something more stable as soon as possible. Imaginary things can disappear at the most inopportune moments, kind of like Lilith's wedding vows. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I called Lilith. She answered on the 4th ringtone, and there was indignation in her voice. "Hey, babe. How was your trip?" "Good. Same old, but in a different city." "What are you doing?" "Just packing some more stuff." "Okay." Line number 1. She's 30 miles away at Arnold Parnas's house. He's Lilith's current lover. I really don't know if he's her first lover. The thing is, I don't care. One is one too many. As much as I'd like to put a bullet in their heads, my revenge is just to leave Lilith alone. Arnold's wife will probably clean his clock. "Do you check the boxes that hold your things?" "Yes, dear. Mine are clearly labeled Lilith. Yours are labeled Howard. It would be very easy to put your things in your closet and mine in mine. Would you please look in my desk for my day planner? It should be in the top right-hand drawer." "In a minute. I don't see it." "Are you sure about where it is?" Line number 2. She would have to be in my house where my brother is now to at least check. All I really cared about was that my brother would have enough time to vacate the house I sold. Since it doesn't look like she's going back anytime soon, I'm sure my plans shouldn't change. "No problem. You said you were having lunch with friends today. Where did you go?" "Do I know any of them?" "We went to a diner near my office. Just some ladies I work with." "What are you going to do for dinner?" Line number 3. My investigator says she arrived at Arnold this morning at 9 a.m. and hasn't left yet. I'll probably just order a steak to the room. The company's paying for it. "What else are you doing today, besides getting your pussy and ass handed to you, whore?" "Just another load of laundry and packing up the leftovers. I hear the dryer whirring. I gotta go. Call me later. I love you. I'll be in touch." I guess once you start lying, it gets easier. There was nothing about that woman I could trust. 2 rental trucks were parked outside my old house, and 4 guys were loading stuff as fast as they could. The truck with my stuff was heading toward the storage unit my brother had rented this morning. The other truck was making its 4th trip to the consignment store. Both trucks had to be back at the rental place by 5 p.m. By the time I hung up the phone with Lilith, my old house was probably empty. I waited for confirmation from my brother. He definitely earned the $5 I'd paid him. The overnight package addressed to my lawyer was ready to go. I signed all the legal documents and was sending them the house keys and the garage door opener. Lilith will also have to turn in her keys and open her. My attorney would be contacting her soon. I did not call Lilith again. When I tried to talk to Arnold's wife and tell her about the investigator's report, she hung up on me. That's life. She will receive the report along with the photos and video as it will be delivered by express today. Then there were the 16 packages I mailed. Lilith's parents, her friends, her employer, her siblings, and heck, our kids got the same package. I put notes in the packages to the kids, notifying them that I was disappointed in them disappearing and didn't know if I'd ever get back in touch with them. And the package I felt best mailed to Lilith allowed me to spill out. Other than stirring in the pot, I'm not sure what I expected to accomplish. Still, it felt good. Lilith, by now, you've probably realized that your depraved actions have resulted in the loss of your marriage. I took all the money that was readily available. I also took what I wanted from the house. The rest of our belongings were taken to a consignment store to be sold. My attorney has the details. You can claim the proceeds. Don't bother looking for your jewelry. That gold gave me a decent amount of money. Your aunt's rings brought the most. My engagement ring didn't bring in much, but that's life. That diamond earring you got from Arnold wasn't really worth much. Just like your wedding vows. The house is vacant now, and I withdrew our offer on the new house. It was just a ploy to get all the proceeds for our house. Thank you for playing along. I don't plan on divorcing you. You can spend your money on it if and when you save up. I plan to replace you as soon as possible, but that's none of your business. I've made it clear to the kids that I'm disappearing. Since both were aware of your affair, OV, and remained silent, I decided to disown them. I let them know that there really isn't much of a market for old white prostitutes, so good luck with whatever career you pursue. If your parents hadn't put all their money into that retirement village, they might have been able to help you out. Maybe you and Arnold can sleep in the same car. Maybe not. I don't know much about him. He sucks socially, but apparently, that's what you traded your lukewarm lifestyle for. I hope all that juice you swallowed didn't give you too much heartburn. I left you your father's gun and a box of ammo. Too bad you were too busy to join me for shooting lessons. Well, point and pull the trigger, you got it? If you intend to commit murder-suicide, do it first. If Arnold had kept his mouth shut, I may never have known about you two. Bragging to the bartender about taking a cherry from some old bitch named Lilith ruined you. What were the odds he'd walk into my brother, Steve's bar? Steve said he was immediately wary as there aren't many women with a name like Lilith. I guess that's karma for me, especially when Arnold shared those selfies of him holding your sagging breasts behind your back. When he paid with his credit card, Steve asked to see his driver's license. After that, it was pretty easy to get all the proof I needed. And all this for what? How stupid can you be? I hope you weren't planning on forcing everything on me and running off with Arnold as your pimp. Thanks for a few nice memories, but for the most part, all other memories are tainted. Howard, instead of leaving my phone, I tossed it to a homeless guy huddled in a dumpster behind the hotel. I wrote down all the contact info I wanted to keep. I had gotten a good night's sleep. Truth be told, it took a few small bottles of booze in the hotel room. Since it was all on my credit card, I didn't care. I had no intention of being around to pay any bills. I had my doubts that any bills would be paid for the past 22 years. Lilith has been a homemaker. She worked until she became pregnant shortly after we were married. I had a reasonably well-paying job so she didn't have to work. Having too much free time after the kids graduated from high school proved to be her downfall. My investigator couldn't find out much about how Lilith and Arnold met or how long it lasted. What he was able to find out was that my children were dating them. For some reason, Lilith stopped by the college campus and invited them to dinner. The investigator indicated that he was following them and taking video with sound. I was able to identify my children. Arnold was introduced as her lover. Whatever Lilith promised them turned out to be their downfall. They had plenty of time to call and talk to me, but it never happened. After taking breakfast to my room, I caught a cab and drove to the used car lot. I just walked out of the hotel. I'll let Lilith try to figure out why I didn't check out. I wasn't supposed to be free until Monday. In the old car, I headed for the coast. By Saturday evening, I was on the beach, having successfully withdrawn a pocket full of local currency from my new identity account. My first purchase was dinner and drinks. During the meal, a very friendly, scantily clad woman convinced me to spend more of that money on her. With a few hours between sessions, I spent my money for a night of bliss. The exchange rates made it so I could do it every day of the week if that was what I wanted. Yes. At this point, it was what I wanted to do. Planning to create new email accounts, I bought a laptop and a cell phone. It would be hard to link the new me to my old me. I set up a VoIP phone number and got an update from Steve. He said Lilith called and hung up on him when he teased her about cheating. Lilithy, at least Howard left me a gun. The shape I'm in, I lie awake at night wondering if I should just end it all. At one time, I was drunk on attention. I never realized it was just a game Arnold was playing to turn me into a sex toy. If someone had told me a year ago that I was going to have an affair, I would have laughed in my face. There was no way in the world it should or could happen. I guess I was right to be picked. I met Arnold at the gym. He was working out at the same time I was. How did I ever fall for all those well-rehearsed lies? Somehow deep down, I think I wanted someone other than Howard, someone to tell me I was sweet and sexy and desirable. He was patient. Compliments turned into drinks and conversation in the parking lot. Deciding to stop at a fast food diner for a snack was my first mistake. Why on earth would a married woman date a married man in private? It took months to slowly lead me to what we did afterward. I started thinking about Arnold when I was having sex with Howard. I had already mentally done it, so it was a short leap. The way my ego was making fun of how well I did it and how my sexy sagging breasts turned him on, it all fueled my infatuation. I really was a dumb bitch. We had moved on to meeting at his summer home once a week. It was pretty easy to be a little late getting home from running errands. When Howard went out of town for a few days, I was Arnold's sex toy. Somewhere along the way, he led me to believe that I should leave Howard, take my share of the marriage, and he would do the same with his wife. We could continue our sexual adventures as a couple. I don't know what made me tell my children about it, but I did. I think Arnold brought me to this decision to reinforce my desire to give up my marriage. When Howard left on that trip to Atlanta, I hadn't yet decided what I was going to do. I thought I had definitely handled Howard's call. Just as I was getting ready to leave that morning, I read a message from my sister. She had received a package from Howard detailing my novel. Arnold, Howard knows. Oh, good, you can start the divorce right now. But, I don't. I shut up because I hadn't decided if I really wanted a divorce. I ran to the bathroom, and I threw up. What did I do? About that time, a car pulled up and a gentleman handed Arnold the divorce papers. That bitch, she's gonna leave me with nothing. Take care of your own shit yourself. I'm out of here. And with those words, Arnold left. After barely making it home, I found our house completely empty. I threw up in my bathroom too. As I leaned over the toilet, someone rang our doorbell. There was an overnight bag lying by the door. I feared the worst. Howard's letter crushed me. I called my children and told them about the nightmare my life had become. They got the packages too. They had video proof of what a horror I had become to Arnold. They were shocked to realize that Howard wanted nothing more to do with them. I think they were hoping for an opportunity to explain their reasons to him. I realized my guilt. After buying some fast food, I headed to the consignment store. My credit cards were still working, which surprised me. Some of my stuff was already sold out, and the jerk there said if I wanted my shit, I'd have to pay a cancellation fee. It was cheaper to repurchase only what I wanted. That fast food was no longer digestible. When I called Howard's cell phone, some drunk answered. The kids weren't any luckier. I didn't think Steve would help me, but I had to try. He laughed when I started asking questions. I'll tell you what, Lilith, I'll pay you $50 a night to be a topless waitress. You'll need one of those bras that lift up those baggy things you call breasts. What do you say to that? Fuck you, asshole. Well, don't say I didn't try to help you. I hung up. Motherfucker. It was the longest weekend of my life. I slept on the floor and then tried to figure out what else I should buy at the thrift store. The only pair of shoes I had were the ones I wore home that day. My makeup was gone. I went to a discount store and bought bathroom essentials. I tried to talk to my friends and family, but Howard sent them a video. Not a soul wanted anything to do with me. The call from Howard's attorney was disturbing. The locks would be changed on Friday, whether I was there or not. Apparently, I could be charged with trespassing if the homebuyers wanted me to. Thursday night, I loaded my worldly belongings into the car and spent the night in a cheap motel. The snot-nosed kid acted like I was a whore pulling tricks. I became homeless. I knew we had bank and brokerage accounts, but after reading Howard's note, I didn't expect to find any money. It took a long time at each institution to convince them that I was entitled to have access to the accounts. I couldn't rent a cheap apartment with what Howard had left me. Fortunately, he hadn't canceled our credit cards. If I watched my spending, I could live on those credit cards for a year or until they were revoked. My call is trying to find a divorce attorney only added to my pain. I didn't have enough money to hire an attorney. None of them were willing to take the case on an unsecured basis. When Arnold called and told me he had no place to stay, I laughed at him. He suggested that we get together to have some sex. I told him where I was staying. Leaving the door ajar, I got in and waited in my car. I left Arnold a note asking him to strip naked. A few minutes after he entered the room, I returned and opened the door to see a naked Arnold staring at me. I remember Howard texted me, "Point and pull the trigger." I fired once, and the bullet hit him almost perfectly between the eyes, though I thought I was aiming for his heart. I flushed the note down the toilet and waited for the police. The officer I spoke to looked skeptical when I told him that when I returned, I found a naked man in my room, and before I knew who it was, had shot him in self-defense. They confiscated the gun and escorted me to headquarters. I was allowed to leave, but 2 days later, I was arrested for first-degree murder. I forgot there was a recording of that phone call, and they believe I ambushed Arnold. My court-appointed attorney can best be described as a goat with green ears. I didn't hold out much hope of being found innocent. At least my money and housing problems were put on hold. Hey, Steve. It's Howard. What's up? You better sit down, Howard. Lilith shot Arnold and then tried to kill herself. She's in a state mental hospital. It was unreal listening to Steve describe Lilith's ordeal. I'll talk to you later, Steve. My head is spinning. My attorney said he will investigate and I have to wait for his analysis. Will I have anything to fear if I go home? How do I get my money back into the country? He told me to sit tight. Judy, for another night of bliss, I decided to stay here until I got bored of it. I once read that money can't buy happiness. Money can buy ice cream. Ice cream makes me happy. There seems to be a disconnect here. It's the same with sex. Having a loving wife was nice until she wasn't anymore. Helping these single working mothers seems like the humane thing to do. Epilogue. It's been almost 9 months since my lawyer told me I could go back. I didn't think it was going to happen. I haven't missed a day of sex since the first time I had sex. Some days, I try some of the available ladies from the evening all night long. At lunchtime, when they see me coming, they flash and grope me. Obviously, I'm overpaying, but not in my calculations. No one lost, I guess, but I didn't win anything either. I still had heartburn over the kids. I sent each of them a card with a quarter inside. Next time you're faced with a tough decision, I hope you can find the inner strength and courage to do the right thing. If not, here's a quarter to toss in to make your choice. That's all I'm leaving you. Lilith is deemed mentally unstable and remains in a state institution. Murder charges are never dropped. So if she ever gets better, it will only get worse.